We're ready. Oh, wait a second. I wanted to welcome everyone. We're going to do a welcome when we finish the kirtan, but I specifically wanted to thank Kalindi and Nadia Mani for joining us. And it's very special for me because I saw Kalindi growing up, but I hadn't heard her voice as a young woman. When I heard it, I was absolutely moved very deeply by it. And then on Radhastami, this duo sang in the temple that was just extraordinary. And I've always deeply appreciated Nadia Mani's voice for her purity. I can feel the heart in her voice. And then Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Okay, our internet connection is not stable, but we're going to hope it's going to work. Thank you again for coming. Kosa is joining us today. She is the publisher at Chandra Media. When did you start Chandra Media?
1997.
1997. I've been kind of like helping
Co-publisher.
helping her for that long with Chandra Media. And we thought that we could jointly welcome Prema Kirtan and introduce the book to you all together. And I'm going to turn it over to you. At the end, go ahead. At the end, I'm going to read a little something by Raghu, who is the designer of our books. And at the end, I'll also be announcing the winner of the Prema Kirtan giveaway.
Well, the first question is, what inspired you to write this book, Prema Kirtan, and about the title, if you would share that with us.
Okay. Actually, I was in Radha's place, Vrindavan, when I met with one person from Bulgaria, and he had seen Wise Love and was impressed with the book. He felt like it was a really good book for reaching a broader audience outside the direct Bhakti community. And he, from his own heart, he was saying how he really wanted to do a website on Kirtan, because Kirtan was becoming so popular in the West and Europe, United States, other places. And I said something like, well, maybe we should do a book. He said, yeah, why don't we do that? Which I took it that, camera positioning. I took it that because it was the holy place, and I at that point, I was going to start writing Bhakti Shakti, Goddess of Divine Love. And I wasn't sure how that was going to happen. Anyway, it came out, and I felt like because that idea was given to me in Radha's holy place, that I should carry it out. And so I began just before COVID, and then COVID hit and I had a lot of time. So that was fortuitous, and Prema Kirtan came out during COVID. The title, the reason why it's not a book just about Kirtan, why I've specifically used the word Prema Kirtan in the title of the book. We see Kirtan being brought into the world, a lot of different kinds of kirtans. There's kirtans about Hanuman, there's kirtans about Ganesh and Durga and Shiva and Krishna. And we have the Mahamantra Kirtan. And I felt it was important to make a distinction between the kirtans, because not all kirtans take you to the same place, right? I mean, this is, Vedanta has a cosmology and a cosmography, and it also explains how different yogas have different end goals. So it's not just you can chant any mantra and it's going to take you to the same place. You're actually going to go to different places based on the mantra you chanted. So I wanted to differentiate, well, clearly show that this is the reality according to Vedanta. And I wanted to distinguish Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Kirtan of the Mahamantra as unique in the Kirtan world. And so Prema Kirtan specifically means a Kirtan that will take you to Prema. And what is Prema? Prema is divine love. It is the interaction between the soul and our divine other in love. So that's, as we understand it, in the yoga philosophies, this is a very high state to attain. And it's interestingly, you could think that it might be really difficult, but it's actually quite easy. You sing, you sing and dance. And but you have to sing and dance with a certain mood and a certain understanding. And that's what I hope Prema Kirtan would do, is to give us and anyone who reads it an understanding of the foundational principles of Kirtan. Like I know that the Kirtankaris themselves, or anyone who's done a Kirtan yoga practice, has internalized a lot of knowledge and a lot of principles, the philosophical, metaphysical principles underlying kirtan, and that's why they're dedicated to it, and that's why there's so much emotion in it, and that's why people who are hearing them are experiencing that joy and that connection with the divine that we hear that they do, even if they're attending the kirtan for the first time. So there's a lot underneath the kirtan that we need to understand. And one of our teachers in our line, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, I was reading a lot of his works recently, and he repeatedly says, kirtan must be accompanied with knowledge in order for the kirtan to have its full effect. Now, and I feel like, so many kirtan events are going on, and people are having a real experience in those events or those kirtans, but we need to follow them home so it can deepen their relationship and their understanding of kirtan as a yoga, which is one of the things we thought to talk about, is that kirtan, it's not just music. First of all, it is music. You can hear it's musical, but there's so much more transpiring in a kirtan. We have actually a yoga practice going on. What is yoga? We understand yoga is a methodology by which one can realize the self and establish oneself permanently in the self's eternal position. So that's what a yoga practice is supposed to do. And kirtan as a yoga does that, and it takes us to very high states that we talked about, and we'll probably.
And for a new person, how do you define kirtan yoga, and why you describe in the beginning chapters how it's an easy meditation?
Yeah, because meditation generally means to still the mind completely, to stop the mind, absolutely, stop it. And a lot of times that means meditating on nothing, because a lot of meditations are based on an understanding that's impersonal. But kirtan is easy because, well, first of all, there's different kinds of kirtan besides musical kirtan, but kirtan is easy because your mind has something to focus on. It's a mantra, and it's not just sound. These are ancient mantras, potent sound formulas of transformation and healing that enrich and enlighten us. So we're not just engaged in song, we're engaged in a transcendent practice using mantra. And that, which I discuss in the book, some beautiful research, actually, not only different universities doing studies on the effect of Maha Mantra on the mind, the brain, but then also I get into great length talking about what is the nature of our ears and the power of that sense in perceiving and receiving information. And then I was so surprised in my research as I was doing for chapter 3, which is called, I love this chapter, the title of chapter 3 is called Mystic Ear and the Harmony of the Spheres. So, I came across just astounding research about material sound and the capacity of our ears to actually, and how sound, and I'm not talking transcendent spiritual sound, but just sound itself has the capacity to transmit both knowledge or feeling, knowledge, information, and emotion and feeling. And we see that with music. What underlies music is math, but what comes out of music is feeling.
Well, and singing, there's also a lot of amazing research that's been done with singing, and how which is one of the things I find so fascinating with kirtan. You actually, when people are singing together, their hearts entrain. So their minds, their hearts, everything comes together, and they've shown that people who sing together collectively, often in like a choir or in our kirtan yoga, that there's so much synchronicity and so much connection that happens, way beyond it, just the beyond the frequencies and that happens with any kind of sound vibration. There's, you can deduct it to different frequencies that affect us differently physically,
right.
emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah. Yeah, but the research that I do bring out is that it's not just music, it's the effect of the mantra, and it's not just any words. It's actually Sanskrit syllables formed as mantras, and the kind of research that shows the change that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and even the Sanskrit syllables themselves create different yantras that we know to be these transcendent yantras, that the sound vibrations themselves are connected. But I think what you've done in chapter 3 is you've piqued the reader's interest to go like, oh my gosh, I want to know more. And then you've just opened that door to really go deeper into understanding the science of sound vibration and how it affects us.
Yeah, and then because we're establishing even on a material level what the power of the ears compared to the other senses, and then how sound affects us, and then we couple that with an understanding of Vedanta, of the power of mantra. And I had some real like aha moments researching that and writing that chapter where I understood. Now I understand why the Absolute chooses this medium to communicate with us. We have our ears are functioning in the womb. We hear our mother's heartbeat before we come out of the womb, and then we start hearing sounds outside of the womb. Then when we're, our ears are more powerful than our eyes and taste for communication. And when we're asleep, our ears are the sense that works. And when we're dying, our ears still are functioning. And all of this together, I realized this, and then other research is, wow, this is why the Absolute has chosen this method to communicate with us. It's not so important as we always think. We must see, we must perceive it with our ears. No, we perceive with the ears. We see with the ears first.
Actually, I really like, I'll read it. There's one sentence you have about catching the wave of sacred sound. And I love that. It's like such a visual, right? Catching the wave. So we know sound comes in waves, but I'm a beach kid, so I'm always thinking about the ocean waves and the sun sparkling on the water and all of that. But then I was thinking about catching the wave of sacred sound. And you write in there, if you can catch the wave of sacred sound, your life will become a symphony that bathes you and others in absolute happiness. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
So,
well, and also when I wrote that, I was thinking specifically how there is a transcendental wave in the world, and it's coming through kirtan. And so it's just so simple. We participate in kirtans, and we can become purified, pure-hearted. I thought I would read.
you're going to share something.
Yeah, I just wanted to read this one thing also. I wanted to, 42. Spiritual sound frees the soul from its mind-body encagement and awakens it to its natural, harmonious, illumined state. In that pure state, all limitations and suffering tied to body and mind are resolved. Ordinary sound cannot do this. The mantra communicates knowledge and feeling to us through our ears into the soul's ears. The finite's ability to touch the infinite is first actuated through transcendental sound. The inner hearing facilitated by the external ears is our entry into sacred geography. Then we're propelled forward on our journey, and the mystical realm becomes accessible to us.
I always mention to Pranada how much I appreciate her poetic writing, because no matter how many times I read it, every time I reread the same sentence or paragraph, it's like, wow. So it just keeps opening up further and further. I don't get tired of reading your books and rereading them over and over again. And I would say that with Wise Love and Bhakti Shakti, and now Prema Kirtan. I was actually reading this over the summer when I was in Europe, and I had reached out to Prana, and I was like, we got to get this out there. Everybody wants and needs this information. It's so valuable. I mean, our Bhakti practice, and you use the phrase, the centerpiece of Bhakti is Kirtan.
Yeah, I was, to make this point, not to embarrass my granddaughter, you know, how do we communicate love? We communicate it by speaking the person's name. And song is such a beautiful way to speak their name. And I explained how I made this little jingle up when my granddaughter Meena Vilasini was 2, and I used to sing to her, how I love you, Meena. And she would just brighten up and get so excited, and she'd want to hear it again and again and again. I thought that it's so spontaneous and natural. And so our divine other is the same way. You get his attention, and he perks up, and he listens to you, and he's grateful for you to express that love. And so Kirtan is the centerpiece of Bhakti, is a beautiful idea, because as we've been discussing, it's so easy to petition our divine friend with song and mantra. It's just so easy, and it's such a beautiful practice.
Well, and that leads into when you talk about the person in the mantra, loving the person in the mantra, and what it's like, or how to love a person we cannot see.
Yeah, because so much of the yoga philosophies dwell on this idea of impersonal oneness, and they don't understand that the mantra is not just representational, but actually, as we hear in the yogic text, actually the person Krishna is present in his name. The Supreme is present in his name. And so I wanted to, convey that concept clearly, so that as we're trying to develop love, that we come with some respect also to understanding who we're approaching, how we're approaching, and some awareness and consciousness of that.
Well, and you elaborate in that chapter on the limbs of Bhakti,
Yeah.
the 9 processes, which really make it personal, make it there be this offer as a way to love Krishna in a reciprocal way.
Yeah.
And then that also leads into the inner journey. And I really appreciate again that phraseology, that the inner journey of japa, which is also a form of kirtan, and singing kirtan, and the kirtan of the Gita and the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, one of the things that I try to explain is I broaden the definition of kirtan. Right now, the kirtan yoga asana community thinks of kirtan as music, as a musical performance. But kirtan is much more than music. It is also a private, personal meditation. It is hearing sacred text is also kirtan. Speaking sacred text is also kirtan. And I wanted to give us a broad understanding of what kirtan is, and show that it's not that one has to be musically inclined, for instance, or an adept as a musician, but we can engage in different kinds of kirtan, and even the musical form of kirtan. We certainly don't need to be a musician. We just sing with our heart. And and the inner journey, I wanted to show, and I speak about that also, how those in a kirtan culture live 2 lives, basically. The secular, normal life that everyone lives, and then the internal life of what occurs for one engaged in kirtan yoga as a meditation practice, where it's not just external what's happening. A lot is going on internally. We're locating the self. We're processing. Like we're trying to efface the ego. Not only are we changing internally, we are efacing the ego. And so this whole world of what's happening internally for one who takes up a kirtan yoga practice is profound. It's a whole journey unto itself. And so when we lead both a normal secular life and a kirtan life in kirtan yoga, which doesn't require a lot from us, we just add a little bit in our daily life, some kirtan yoga
I
practice.
don't know. I mean, it actually requires us giving our body, mind, and heart.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Yeah, but I wanted in terms of time commitment. Yeah, we have to give our very self. But yeah, so I think that inner journey is an important part of kirtan. Actually, let me just read.
The other thing too is it happens naturally because
Yeah.
there's so much reciprocation, there's so much joy that comes with the inner journey that we're able, my own personal experience is able to continually give more and more of
Yeah,
myself because there's so much reciprocation.
yeah, that actually is something that I discussed at the beginning of chapter 5. I say, when we sing the holy names, we'll find at first that we can experience a little of the natural spiritual emotions the self has for the Supreme. Although we want to repeatedly feel these coveted emotions, they are not yet developed enough, and so they remain largely inactive in the heart. But a regular mantra meditation practice calls up these treasured feelings from the innermost chambers of our heart and gives us an opportunity to be with them more often and for longer periods of time. The more we practice hearing and chanting, the more the feelings become activated. And these are not ordinary feelings, these are trans-psychological feelings, spiritual feelings.
And I like the example you give of the dawn.
Oh, yeah.
Will you share that?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Let's see.
It's on 117.
Yeah. This is a visualization I had. Was actually, as I was writing Prema Kirtan, I was thinking about how divine love awakens in the heart, and it's step-by-step gradual process. And one morning, as I was doing my mantra meditation, I was realizing that the experience I have on a daily basis is a metaphor for the journey overall. So I'll just read to you because it's really very sweet. It's called The Dawning of Divine Love. There's an east-facing window in the sacred room where I meditate every morning. It's a quiet, deep black outside when I begin my chanting. I treasure this time before dawn. It allows for calm focus on the names. As time passes, when the background palette outside is first stroked shades of gray, I start to make out sky between the limbs of the majestic oak outside my window, and slowly hints of blue are revealed. At the first blush of color, a bird begins its happy song. As the sky brightens into a clear blue, the horizon gradually embraces delicate yellows, and the landscape is plainly visible as more birds join the chorus. Then I know that it's only a short time before the yellows burst brilliant, sometimes adding pinks or oranges at their borders, and the sun will beam forth with its full enlightening face. In the awakening of divine love, there's a similar dawning as we rid ourselves of entrenched patterns and leave the false self for our fully realized spiritual identity. The rising of pure love clarifies our vision, sings of unprecedented possibilities, and propels us toward our final goal with great longing. The inner life unfolds its mystery and glory as we hold steadfast in embracing the Mahamantra. Sri Nam comes from the transcendental plane and invokes all perfections because of its pure transcendental nature, though at first it's quiet and dark outside and inside. The name gradually reveals everything as surely as the rising sun. So that just seeing the sun come up and how much illumination it brings and gives so much patience as we're waiting to progress in this step-by-step progress toward loving. And yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that. It's like ever since I read that, every time when the sun's rising, it's like that reminds me, like you said, of like this is what I have to look forward to.
Yeah.
So, another thing I really appreciate that you've done in the book is you've also taken the time to do the research on the history of kirtan, going back all the way to the 6th century, which I don't think a lot of people know so much about.
Yeah, the kirtan does have quite a history, and it begins at the cradle of civilization, but we won't go back all the way there. But I do mention it in the book. I do discuss how we've come to kirtan. But something called the Bhakti movement began in the 6th century, and it became popular through the Alwars, the Bhakti saints called the Alwars, and then subsequent to their beginning a kirtan revival, the Nayanars, also in South India, who are worshippers of Shiva, they also began a kirtan, and it became very popular and popularized Bhakti, or revitalized Bhakti, I should say, not only in South India, but then gradually moved up into the north of India, and like garlanded all of India until in the 16th century, we have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starting his praying kirtan and of the Mahamantra. And his kirtan was different than the kirtan of the Alwars and the Nayanars. It's described how, the Alwars and the Nayanars, they were composing their own songs. And then they were going to different villages, different towns, and singing those songs and showing how a connection with the divine is possible for everyone. It has nothing to do with being able to intone the mantra properly and have heady philosophical debates and all these things that, the certain classes of transcendentalists felt were absolutely required. But this kind of like broke open spiritual life for the masses, how kirtan spread through India, through their kirtan. But what was different with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan is that two things. One was he didn't create his own compositions. He took the Mahamantra from the Upanishads and made that the central kirtan. And so the difference there is we have a Upanishadic mantra with tremendous power because of its where it's coming from. It's not just someone's idea. And then right there in the Upanishad, it's described how it's the only mantra meant to be chanted in this current cosmic cycle. And on top of that, then he took it to the streets in the way the Alwars and the Nayanars didn't. And he had thousands of people following him, basically created like this socio-spiritual revolution. And so his kirtan was quite unique. And as I was researching how kirtan came to the West, it became clear that the main avenue that kirtan came into Europe, North America, South America, into the West, is through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Prema Kirtan. Many of the kirtan artists now were exposed to the kirtan of the followers of my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, and they became interested in that kirtan through that way. And or they were in India and they were hearing kirtan of other Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers. So it was like a large percentage of the people who came in contact with kirtan came in contact with Prema Kirtan, and then of course, not to miss the main person bringing Prema Kirtan to New York in 1965 under that famous elm tree. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. That was the first Prema Kirtan heard in North America. There was some kirtan heard in Europe earlier in the 30s when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had sent some disciples into England and Germany. But those were, as far as I can see, those were private. But A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami made them public. And he's noted as the divine minstrel by the author of American Veda, Philip Goldberg. So he calls Prabhupada the divine minstrel. And what I like to point out is that he wasn't just a divine minstrel. He was a kirtan aficionado extraordinaire because he had such love for the texts from which the understanding of kirtan comes from. And he translated for us, gave us an English translation of the Bhagavad Gita, which was full of prema. And he translated the Bhagavat Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, in extensive work that began the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which became really a focus for scholars around the world, because these are the first time that these books were being brought into English, and highlighting the power of kirtan, the power of sound, the power of the Mahamantra kirtan. So yeah, that history is fascinating.
And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction.
Yeah, and so I point out that as I was doing that research and I was seeing how the main, it's not that that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan is the only avenue from that kirtan came to the West. There are other avenues for sure. You have Guru Nanak and other areas where kirtan has come in, but it's certainly a main one. And it really struck me how what we're doing is we're seeing the prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, saying this Prema Kirtan would spread all over the world. And it's astounding that we are witnesses of that and can participate in it.
And then, because I was going to say, and then I love when you lead into the cosmic journeys.
Okay.
That's especially dear to me because from the time I was very young, I really knew this wasn't my home, the Earth planet, and I was seriously looking, how do I get out of here? And the first book I read cover to cover of our spiritual teacher, it was Easy Journey to Other Planets. And that I was already reading Bhagavad Gita, I was reading Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, but when I got Easy Journey to Other Planets, I read the book in one day, I read it the next day, I read it the next day, cover to cover. It was like finally all my answers, or all my questions were being answered. How Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, how he encapsulates these teachings to help us understand our place in the universe and the options we have available to us.
Yeah.
Which wasn't taught in my elementary school.
Yeah, I had, when we talk about Kirtan Yoga and the different destinations possible, it's really, it's very profound. And I had that experience as I was writing Prema Kirtan. I'll just read a little bit. We're far more powerful than we've been led to believe. We're immeasurably more than what meets the eye. In choosing a mantra to dedicate yourself to, you choose among a vast array of possibilities for the soul, one more enchanting and enthralling than any you've encountered in any wonderful dream or fictional world. If you focus on the spiritual practice of mantra meditation, you can choose where to go and who you'll be in eternity. It's a profound awakening to realize that meditating on a particular mantra makes you an empowered agent of your own destiny and gives you access to higher realms and higher versions of yourself. Our spiritual prospects aren't limited, nor are limits dictated to us by others. That's what the mantra does for us, right? Just take up a simple practice. We can go anywhere we want. But I do suggest where you might want to go.
Yes, and that's another really important part of that chapter. The following chapter is about what your options are, what all of our options are. And of course, with the aim in mind of Goloka Vrindavan, where we can enter into personal loving relationships with Supreme, the Lord of our hearts.
Yeah, which is scary for a lot of people. And that's why impersonalism is so strong within the spiritual marketplace, is that, you know, all of our problems are in relationships, and there's such a headache and they're problematic. And so who wants to have personal relationships for eternity? Oh my God. So I take a little time to describe what the difference is between relationships that are centered on the Supreme and relationships that are too often seeking our own gratification. And wonder if I was going to read, I can read, I think, a little piece of that here. Yeah. Many of us fear individuality and transcendence because of the disharmony we witness in ourselves and others in this world. Vaikuntha, however, is a world of dynamic unity, harmonious the way music is harmonious. We may think that unity requires that we all play the same note, or play no notes at all. But in Vaikuntha, many notes play together, harmonized by the shared center of each soul, pleasing the all-attractive Supreme Person. We're familiar with the difference between the sound of one note and the harmony of an exquisite symphony produced by a musical genius. Such an attractive harmony gives joy to the ears and hearts of everyone.
And this was earlier in the book, but it's one of my sound bites. Our kirtan here can take us there if we practice Prema Kirtan.
Yeah.
And just one last point we were going to talk about is becoming a spiritual luminary, what that means and why that's something that's to keep in the picture as well.
That was something else that struck me as I was writing Prema Kirtan. I felt that what I was, you know, I mean, obviously I've been doing a Kirtan yoga practice for nearly 50 years. And so I have some idea about why I'm doing this. But as I was writing Prema Kirtan, I was really struck by the potential of a human being and what mantra meditation can do. And I really wanted to encourage other people to, you know, so many people sit in a kirtan and have an experience, say, I felt so connected, I was so joyful, and I felt so connected in that moment with the divine. And it was an experience that completely transported me. And then you go and you leave that experience and it might wane. So I wanted to encourage by having a vision of what it could look like and what our potential is as human beings. So I just wrote this little piece here that I'm going to read to you. You can uncover your true radiant nature, spread light in the world, and reduce the confusion in which the world is drowning. You can become a spiritual luminary. It's an achievement possible for any human being. The world needs that version of you desperately. Chanting the mantra is a powerful, direct, and gentle way to efface the ego, an absolute requirement to set the real self free. The false self and its desires are our primary impediments to self-truth and lasting happiness. So there's a lot that's built on before I come to that point in the book where I'm encouraging, you really can become the extraordinary human being that you're meant to be. This is not impossible. And it's actually, this is one of the amazing things about Kirtan and Bhakti, is that it's taking us to the highest reach in transcendence in a very easy way. That shows the power. It's so easy and it's taking to the highest. And then you have these yoga paths like Gyan, where you have to perform all these austerities, and then you can fall at any moment because you're trying to reach transcendence on your own. And in here, where mercy is descending and we're just calling out and petitioning with love, please let my heart soften. Please let me love you. Please take me into your shelter. It's so beautiful and so easy. Takes commitment, though. Yeah.
Thank you very, very
Thank
much
you.
for sharing all that with us. And we wanted to hear from some of the readers,
Yeah, if anybody, we have,
because I can jump out here and whoever wants to share can just sit right here with you.
yeah, if anybody, we have a few people in the audience who are advanced readers of the book. And if anyone wants to share any of their thoughts, they're welcome to come sit with me and speak their ideas, what their experience was. And if not, no problem.
Except that we're live, so somebody please.
Would you like to, Shamala Kishore? Yeah. So I'm going to introduce you to Shamala Kishore, who actually did our kirtan for Bhakti Shakti. But we had a little bit of technical problems, so I'm not sure how many people heard that kirtan.
So I was really grateful to be an early reader for your book. And the thing that I found in this book and your last one, Bhakti Shakti, is the mood in which you write feels like I'm sitting next to you at a fireplace, and it's like this warm, supportive, encouraging energy in the writing style that makes me feel like I'm actually with you when I'm reading. So, and I noticed that in the last book as well. It's like you're guiding us, and it has that warmth to it. And I see you as a person who has a lot of wisdom and a lot of grace in your person, and that comes through in the writing as well. And I just feel like it's very soothing. So personally as well, I have done kirtan for a long time, and this book has given me a new kind of perspective on it, or a deeper perspective, and it makes me want to go deeper in it and be more present with it, and take it as the jewel that it is.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And now I'm going to welcome Shukada, so that you know who's coming to sit next to me.
Hare Krishna. So when you first asked me to be the advanced reader, I wasn't really sure what that really was or what it entailed or whatever, but I just loved the book tremendously and the wisdom that was there. And when you wanted me to write something about it, you asked if I would write something with the perspective of someone who's very new to kirtan. And so I like just to read what I wrote. Pranada explains kirtan concisely from the scientific, philosophical, and spiritual viewpoint for both the beginner and the more advanced participants. For the beginner, the book will enlighten you to the benefits of kirtan mantra meditation, where you're exploring kirtan for reasons of health, stress relief, fellowship, spiritual enlightenment, or for many other reasons, one begins to come to the practice of kirtan. And that's because of how kirtan is presented in the West. You know, that's how I was looking at it. Prema Kirtan sets one on the path to discover the true meaning of kirtan, its history and practice from the earliest of times. Kirtan, whether done alone with a few friends or a large group, can help one with life's lessons and to begin to see things in a more realistic and spiritual way. Pranada shows the newcomer to kirtan the actual practice, knowledge, and benefits of being absorbed in kirtan. The later chapters may be philosophically daunting for the beginner, although the more advanced kirtan practitioner will be highly absorbed in all the knowledge that is being delivered to the reader. So I wanted to make that introduction to both the beginner and the advanced. And for myself, I have also been practicing kirtan for over 50 years, and I was so enlightened by what you wrote. And there were a few things, especially in those later chapters, the way you're voicing, the words you used, it just reminded me of Srila Prabhupada speaking. You used your own words and everything, but it was like I was listening to Prabhupada. She was just giving it. And I could feel that love there. One of the chapters that I really liked, there's two chapters that I really liked. One is the 8th chapter, when you talk about Radha and her love. And when you talk about her love and with Lord Chaitanya, and with Lord Chaitanya, he's feeling this separation from Krishna, and he goes around, where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? And you write that. And that was beautiful. It was just so beautiful. I've been reading a lot about lately about from Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, and the gopis and their feelings of separation. And when I was reading that part in the 8th chapter, I was feeling that. Yes, it really did. And then I just want to say, at the end of your book, that 11th chapter, your ending, magnificent. It was wonderful. You quote from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which just happens to be a book in one of my reading groups that we've been going through. And
A good invitation is.
It was like, it summed it all up. It brought the whole feeling of your book together. It was like in those last few paragraphs of your book, just wonderful. And well, it almost made me cry. The last few paragraphs, just wonderful. And thank you so much for writing this book, because it just made me feel how staying on the path and doing this kirtan. And I'm so glad I had the opportunity to be a part of this. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else want to say something?
The hard act to follow. Okay.
We have someone coming. My friend Janava.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So we made a film together. Well, Pranada was in a film that I was working on many years ago called Women of Bhakti. And I had interviewed a very well-known prominent yoga teacher in that film named Shiva Ray. And Shiva was saying how kirtan is the pathway to bhakti in this age. And then around that same time, I was at the this big retreat center in New York, Kripalu, and I was participating in some yoga retreats there. And Krishnadas was there doing a big kirtan, and I went in and he said, kirtan means we're just going to chant and try and get rid of our stuff, like our junk, our stuff. And people were really enthusiastic about chanting. And, I have been trying to practice bhakti and kirtan for many years. And I thought about it. I thought, that's true. Kirtan really is the pathway for this age. And we really are trying to clear out our stuff, our junk. But Pranada's book is like, the PhD level of understanding what kirtan really is, what it can do for you, and how to practice it. And so having that knowledge is what's going to really take you to the level that kirtan can bring you, which gives you transcendence and it gives you joy. And so, yeah, I just think that all the work you did for all these decades, both with your heart, with your research, and with your effortless writing, that's saving all of us so much time so that we can just dive right in to the nectar, as we like to say, and not have to make all the mistakes or, just go quite as slow as you did. It's sort of like accelerate ourselves, because you did all of that work for us. And reading the book is a joy. It's effortless. Like Kosa Ely was saying, every line is poetry. And like Shamala Kishore was saying, it's like sitting around a campfire and feeling the warmth. And yeah, so, and this is your third book, right? So I call it the trifecta. We have these amazing books, Wise Love, and Bhakti, Shakti, and now Prema Kirtan. And we're so fortunate to have you and to have your books. And we all hope that you will keep writing more books and share your wisdom and experience and realization.
Thank you. I hope that my desire with Prema Kirtan is that it's a service for those who are doing kirtan already, especially taking kirtan out into the public, so that, we can give people an experience, but then something that they can take home with them and continue that experience, and maybe even take up a kirtan yoga practice, understand why they experience that joy. So I'm hoping that it will get some notice with the kirtan artists around the world, and accompany to that with them, accompany their kirtan with them. I hope.
Yeah, it will.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would love to speak, but I'm
My dear Madhurika.
Very well. So what I experienced when I read this book is that it inspired me and enlivened me and really made me want to chant more. So I think if that's one of your goals, it succeeded. I really felt like, wow, this is, I want to, let me just sit down and chant a little bit. So that was wonderful. You write with such clarity and such elegance, and I think part of the reason is that you really deeply understand the philosophy, because to be able to express something so clearly, you need to really know what it is that you want to say. So I appreciate that clarity very much. It's as though you've distilled the philosophy and given it to us in its essence. And that your way of choosing just the right word and expressing so clearly is wonderful. Yes. And I think that what's wonderful as well is that for someone who's been doing kirtan for some time, we kind of tend to become a little bit familiar, or it's something that we do and we do and we do. And we may lose sight of how precious and powerful and really wonderful it is. So this book kind of highlights that wow, this is something amazing. I mean, we can do it every day, we can do it under any circumstances, but it's something really magical and wonderful. So I got that sense. And then for newer people who are just discovering kirtan, everything is explained so clearly. And you also share so many of your personal realizations, deep personal realizations, which I appreciate really very much. It's not just theoretical in any way. And also a lot of practical wisdom, practical kind of tips and hints and little nudges, which I think will be so valuable to all newcomers and more experienced people. So this book is a wonderful gift to us all and to the whole community, kirtan community. Thank you. Thank you for writing it. Thank you.
We're just seeing if one more person wants to participate. Abhishek Ghosh, welcome. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
You want to sit up a little bit more?
Yeah, sure.
Closer, there you go.
I'm very grateful to be honoring this couch, not the stage, with both Kosa Ely and Pranada Prabhu. I still remember the conversation we had in 2013, November, AR. And none of these books had been planned yet. And Pranada Prabhu came to me and says, I'm thinking of writing books. Wise Love hadn't been written yet. He says, I really want to write books that explain the best of our philosophy to a secular audience. And it's just so wonderful to see all of these flowers manifest. And the one realization I have, and it's difficult to get off the, take my hat of a scholar off and just look at what you're doing as a Vaishnava. And to realize that this is the dream of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That, think about it. This is a small village in a remote corner of Florida. At least by Srila Prabhupada's standards. And even here, all of us are gathered to celebrate one of the most precious things available to all humans on planet Earth. The word kirti means activity. When kirti, in Bengali they say kelor kirti. Kelor kirti means the crazy activities of that black fellow. Referring to Krishna. And when you talk about those sweet activities, it is kirtan. And when you are at such a stage where you've spoken, and all is left is the holy name. That's also kirti. The name itself is beautiful. And it is said by our previous acharyas that Krishna calls Radha Hare. Right. And Radha calls Krishna Ram. Ram means delightful man, a romantic man. Yeah, Ramante Sarama. And also the person in whom the yogis delight is also Ram. So yogis delight in Krishna, Ram, and Radha steals Krishna's heart, therefore Hare. So Hare, Krishna, Ram are the names of the Lord that they often call themselves by. Right. So the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare is a circular arrangement of the names of Radha and Krishna that we can utter just to experience their presence. And our acharyas also say that each of the demons that come in Krishna's leelas are actually there within us. Agha is envy. Aghasura, therefore, is that envy that Krishna kills to bring us closer to him. Trinavarta is the argument of mundane scholars like myself. And Krishna chokes the life air to bring us closer to him. Our tongue is like Kaliya, because whatever we eat affects the body and whatever we speak affects our relationships outside. And only these divine holy names on our tongue dancing is like Krishna stepping on Kaliya's hood to kick all the poison out. Right? So that, I think, is the essence of Prema Kirtan. That's what I understood many years back. Of course, the presentation is much more deep, much more solid, much more scholarly, but that's a realization I had to share with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you.
If there's no one else to come up, is there anyone else that wants to come up? Okay. I'm going to read, Raghu and Govinda at 8 Eyes design the covers for the books that I've published. And she wanted to come, but she was unable to come. She sent instead a little message about the design of the cover of Prema Kirtan. I'll read. So she writes, Kirtan is such a personal experience. It is also transformative and connects us to each other. It was very challenging to develop a cover to fit this topic of Prema Kirtan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the divine personality who brought Kirtan to us. For this cover, I wanted to honor him in a more abstract way. The golden glowing background is representative of Chaitanya to me. The vivid decorative elements display the joy and liveliness in Kirtan. The waves on the back cover represents the waves of prema, or divine love, felt in experiencing Kirtan to the Supreme. I hope every reader feels uplifted and connected to Sri Chaitanya and his Kirtan in seeing this cover and reading the book. And finally, we have the winner of the Prema Kirtan giveaway, just discovered this morning. And her name, she's from the United Kingdom. This is going to be given to Sangeeta Priya. And here we have come to the end of our welcoming Prema Kirtan into the world. It's so meaningful to me that each of you came and is here to support me. It's kind of like a quiet, lonely work to write, and and it means really, and I can't just one person. What can one person do? So that I have people that support and care and are paying attention and are willing to give time and hopefully spread the word about these books that can help others in reaching our friends and acquaintances and secular family members. And
it's really awesome because with the print on demand, you can get Prema Kirtan in your country, and you can also get it as an audiobook, and you can also get it as an ebook. So no excuses left anywhere you are in the world.
Wholesale also.
And wholesale for your community, your yoga studio, your temple, like that. But thank you all for being here with us. It means the world to Pranada. Like she said, being a writer, being an author is a lonely profession, and it's, we only get to have her come out and share with all of us when the book is finished. So yeah, just everything you can do to share your appreciation with her. Send her a message, send her an email, send her a
Tell
post,
others about the book.
and most important, share it on through your networks so that this Prema Kirtan can continue to spread all over the universe.
Yeah, not only Garland, India, right?
Oh no, the whole universe. So again, thank you for being here with us, and much love and appreciation.
And now, by the way, Prema Kirtan's on sale only today on Amazon. I lowered the price $2.
Okay, grab it now. Do it now while you're thinking about it before you forget. So again, thank you. Much love.
Haribo, Haribo, Haribo.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Thank you all the devotees online for joining. And
You can open it up now.
oh yeah, the Facebook stuff.
There's people you don't want to.